Hello and welcome to Chaos Champs, the Chaos Reborn competitive stream. My name is John Stabler and joining me on the stream is Chris Jarvis. Hello Chris.
Good evening, John.
Hey, how's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad. Daughter's second birthday, so lots of partying with play barns full of small children and eating and drinking and that sort of thing.
Oh, my heart goes out to you, mate. That sounds terrible.
It was funny. It was funny.
Cool. So you play much Chaos?
I've been playing a bit. Mostly actually playing the single player. I'm trying to sort of amass and complete my collection of talismans so that I've got sort of complete choice when it comes to kitting out for matches. Because at the moment I'm sort of... I guess I'm picking from the few that I've managed to collect.
Okay.
What will probably happen is I will grind the single player and grind it, and then what will happen is they'll change the game so that in multiplayer you can choose whichever talisman you like. That's what I'm expecting to happen.
Yeah, spending all that time. I know that a lot of people have been spending a lot of time picking up talismans. I think OzCJ, who's on tonight, has spent a lot of time making sure he's got all of the talismans ready for his big battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's feeling the pressure this evening.
Cool. Well, in that case, I better at least introduce who the competitors are this evening. So we'll start with competitor number 1, who is, good grief, it's the creator of Chaos Reborn himself, Julian Gollop. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's definitely fair to say that no one knows the game as well as Julian.
You'd hope.
I mean, the amount of time he spent working on it and prototyping it, and the rules, and I suppose living with the game since the original Chaos in the 80s. And I think in terms of the matches that I've seen Julian play, it's clear that he kind of knows the game inside out. I mean, it's not fair to say that he wins 100% of the time. He's certainly won most of the matches that I've seen him play. But having said that, I've beaten him, if only slightly by default in a three-way game, and I have seen other people beat him. So, to be honest, I don't know anyone with a 100% record at Chaos Reborn.
No, I'm sure we'd have heard about them otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I don't even know how to pronounce this. He calls his wizard Julificus. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Julificus, I guess.
Okay.
He's Julian, it's Julificus, that works.
Okay, that sounds good. And preferred creature giant. That's an interesting choice. Usually everyone seems to be going for either a lore or chaos one, and he's gone for the giant, which is neutral. Yeah,
it's a very powerful. It's a very powerful creature. I think in some respects, it's a slightly unusual one to prefer because it's such a difficult one to get hold of because the casting chance is so low. And as you say, because it doesn't benefit from either lore or chaos, it's not really a spell that ever gets better throughout, the course of the match. In terms of Julian's setup, I don't know if we're discussing what their setup is. Prior to the match?
Well, I actually, I did go to Oz and I did get his gear, although I didn't ask him about talismans, so I think we can discuss the gear at least. Okay,
that's fine. Yeah, because he'll see that anyway. So Julian has Percussion of Giants as his mega spell, and I to be honest, I've not used it enough to know what the casting chance on Percussion of Giants is. Is it better than the single giant card?
I think it's 10% better.
Okay.
So. He obviously loves the giant, and what's better than one giant? Two giants. So.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's a great creature. It's got that one-shot ranged attack, which is really useful in a lot of situations. And I think one of the things we were debating last week, which I don't actually think we've clarified, is whether or not the giant's attack stat drops after it's thrown its rock. Did we ever find out?
Well, maybe we can ask Julian later. I'm sure he'll know.
Yeah, or we might observe it in game. If we see giants, let's make a note of the attack stat.
Okay, good
before
idea.
And after. Yeah, great.
Signature spell, teleport. I don't know, does that mean he likes to run away a lot, or he's got mana fever all the time? I'm not sure, but it's a bit of a strange one to have as a signature spell.
Yeah, he obviously likes to keep mobile. It's possibly a giveaway that he must have at least one teleport bound to his staff. You know, if it's a signature spell, then it must be something that he's got in there to rely on. So yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, having played Oz previously, it'll be interesting to see how much teleport makes a difference, because Oz isn't, from my experience, the most mobile of players.
Okay.
He tends to, from my experience, I mean, you've played him a lot more, but from my experience, he does tend to pick an area of terrain and kind of work it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much teleport makes a difference.
Okay. Favourite spell type? Neutral. Well, that adds up with the giant. But
Yeah,
again,
yes.
why neutral is a favourite? You can't boost it in any way that I know of. Not normally, anyway.
Yeah, I was thinking about it before Julian came on. I guess, in some respects, being the game's creator, you know, he's involved day in, day out with developing the game, and he's obviously spending a lot of his time trying to make lore and chaos kind of equally powerful and equally amazing. So it kind of makes sense to me that he would be, you know, favouring the middle ground, because otherwise, I suppose, if he preferred one or the other, there's a danger of some bias creeping into the game.
Are you saying his profile is purely political?
Yeah, I don't think he could. You know, I think as soon as he admitted an allegiance to either lore or chaos, I think people would be asking for one or the other to be nerfed.
Yeah, good point. So, according to Julian, the greatest wizard is Catweasel. Now, I actually had to go and look this up, because...
Yeah.
Did you know what this was?
No, I knew what it was, but it's a little bit maybe before my time, and I did sort of remember watching it when I was a child, but I didn't remember a lot about it. Yeah, so I had to look it up.
Yeah, so if I'm right in remembering, Catweasel, it was like it was made in the 70s or something. It was like a kids' TV program, featuring a boy and is a wizard who travelled back or forward in time or something like that. And Catweasel was the wizard. So yeah, I don't know whether, you know, that's truly Julian's favourite wizard, or whether he's trying to get really obscure up the game with obscure wizards.
I don't know. Maybe Catweasel was an inspiration at the time of the original Chaos.
Could be. Could be.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I looked it up earlier, and it struck me that I picked a random scene and watched it, and it seemed to be about this old tramp trying to persuade a young boy not to tell anyone about their relationship. So I don't think it's one that's going to win any reruns on TV anytime soon. But no, I think it's a fun show, and it's it looks the whole thing was shot on film actually, so for its era, it looks really nice.
Yeah. Have you been thinking up that gag all day, by the way?
No, I'm talking myself into a corner.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to our second competitor, which is Oz CJ, or just Oz.
Yep.
Disclaimer, Oz is my brother. Although that's not the reason why we invited him on. We didn't get desperate for competitors, and I just phoned up my bro. He is actually, he has played a lot. He played the original Chaos, and he's played Chaos Reborn a lot. He's a good player, and he helped us with the tournament at LaveCon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you can't write him off. He's definitely a contender. Go on.
Yeah, my personal stats against Oz, I imagine, are very bad. I seem to lose to him quite a lot of the time when I play him. He's a very, you know, like we've seen in some of the better players, he's a very defensive player, and he considers a lot of different angles before committing himself to a move. Interesting to see how tonight goes, because we're actually working with a 1 minute turn timer tonight rather than 2 minutes that we normally do. Partly something we're trying, partly because we're sort of trying to be kind to Julian, because obviously Bulgaria is 2 hours ahead of us, so it's it's getting late for Julian, and we don't want to give him a really late bedtime. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that 1 minute timer affects Oz, because he does normally use, from what I've seen, he uses most of his time. He's not one to rush.
No, definitely. Preferred creature, Paladin. Now, yeah, totally. Having played him quite a few times, I can tell you that he does love a paladin, for the reason that a couple of other people have said that paladin is their preferred creature. It's got that great auto attack, and it's you know, it can kill the undead, which is always handy.
Yeah, really useful. Really useful.
Signature spell, Magic Bolt. Don't I know it? Many a time he's just walked up to me and thrown one of those in my face, and it always seems to work on me. So hopefully Julian will have increased his magic power or resistance or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, he's always. I assume Oz must have it bound, because he always seems to have at least one magic bolt. And I'm trying to remember, does he bind? Mega Bolt is his mega spell on his staff. So
it is, yeah. So he loves the bolts.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another thing as well. That sort of, in terms of games with him sort of holding an area of ground, it's quite difficult to approach him because you sort of know that if you get within Magic Bolt range, you're going to be in trouble.
You gotta respect his bolt, that's for sure. Favourite spell type, Chaos. Yeah, I can completely see this again, because undead, because they have that natural advantage over the undead. I think it's only natural, really.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily go with his choices of preferred creature and signature spell.
Yeah, I mean, we found this last week that you know, people do like the paladin, even though they kind of recognise that, you know, Chaos is the one they draw on mostly.
No, quite.
Okay, and greatest wizard, Wizard of Oz. Now, I don't know whether this was him just because it goes with his name, or whether he was, you know, making a kind of intellectual point about the Wizard of Oz in that he wasn't really a wizard, but he was a trickster. You know?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Or, you know, he made people think he was more powerful than he really was. You know, that kind of thing. I don't know.
That's right.
I'd like to think that he thinks of things like that.
Yeah, you know him better than I do.
Yeah. So there we go. So as we mentioned, yeah, he does have Mega Bolt as his mega spell. So he's going to want to use that.
So just a note before we go into tonight's match, that Julian is using a what's it called? Blanked on the word, but he's crafted his own
his own body gear and stuff.
In the what's it called? What's the thing called? The forge.
The forge, yes.
The forge, yeah. So he's forged his own equipment, which is a new feature in the recent release of the game. There is an option to go in and basically craft your own gear, and this is available to, I think, Kickstarter backers, and I think you can still go in and buy the game at a level that gives you this reward, isn't it? Is that right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But it's based on, I mean, it doesn't really allow you to create anything massively overpowered as far as we know. It'd be interesting to see what happens tonight with Julian having such a good knowledge of the game. But basically the forging screen gives you the ability to just tweak the settings of your staff and body gear based on, you know, you start off with one of the game's sort of staff types, and then you have a certain number of points to spend on increasing certain areas, you know, in favour of certain other areas. So I think one of the things they're watching closely since the last release of the game is whether the current forging system allows for the creation of any equipment that is massively overpowered. I think I vaguely remember Julian saying that the rules, the points that are available to spend on your own custom equipment are the same points that are distributed in the sort of generation of the in-game equipment. Yeah. So it shouldn't create anything that isn't available to you already.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, I'm just going to quickly do a quick comparison of the differences on their gear before we move on to the game. So Julian's packing an arcane body gear, whereas Oz has vigilant. Julian with 10 attack, Oz with 20. 20 defense to Julian, and this is the interest bit. Oz has 60 defense.
Yeah.
So that might actually, that's the significant difference. Both have agility of 40, but then again, Julian has 180 magic power and Oz has 90.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so that's another difference. Deck size 20 Julian and 22 for Oz. Hand sizes from the staff, 9 to Julian, 12 to Oz, so it's not a huge amount in it.
It's quite significant in the early game if you think that, you know, in terms of a first couple of moves, Oz is going to be seeing 12 cards from his hand up front, whereas Julian's only going to see 9. So Julian's going to have a slightly restricted choice, I think, early on, perhaps in comparison.
Well, Julian's got a boost of 11 and Oz has got 15, but what's happened is obviously because Julian sacrificed points with the hand size and the boost, and it's got a mega spell cost of 42.
That's very low.
Yeah, whereas Oz is going to be paying 66. So, you know, again, it's significant enough that you're going to have to take into account.
Yeah, and perhaps Oz is going to be looking for mana sprites. You know, to get up to those levels of 66, he's going to, I think, probably have to be looking for mana sprites. Whereas 42 is very achievable very quickly.
Okay. Right, should we get things underway?
Absolutely.
Okay, good job. Well, the guys are going to start the game, and then we will be joining them very shortly. Okay, and here we are. So
okay,
this is a good, interesting one. 2 mana sprites in the middle, and then one either end. So we're going to see if one of them plays a defensive game and goes straight for the one behind them.
Yep, Julian straight in there with the Rat Pack. It strikes me immediately looking at this arena. Is this a little bit smaller than some of the other 2-player arenas we're used to seeing, or is it?
I think it's because it's kind of long and narrow.
Yeah, maybe.
The other ones are kind of almost square in that they're kind of spread evenly.
Yeah, and virtually no surface features at all. No kind of high ground with which for creatures to attack from, and you know, so we're probably not going to see eagles and things. That's interesting there that Oz has activated a talisman already. I can only assume that he must have burnt some cards, because if he's activated it, it must have cost mana.
Yeah.
He's given himself quite a substantial range. And given that we've already established that Oz likes to favour the Magic Bolt, the fact that he's now given himself a move range of 4 and the ability to fly means that actually already in this early stage of the game, Oz is quite a significant threat.
Yeah, I mean, 3 rats, you know, if you're playing defensively, you know, you can run, hide and maybe build a defence, but I don't know, I mean, even with that range of 4, you know, how is he going to get past them? And now with a spider as well, which you can't sniff at a spider's range of 3. Maybe he was hoping Julian was going to run to rush him or something.
Maybe it's definitely much more aggressive than perhaps I've seen from Oz in the past. Julian actually having to give up ground there and kind of back off behind some cover as much as... Interesting that Oz's turn time is running out. Oh, okay, that's fine. Oz there claiming the mana sprite and taking out one of the rats. He's not going to have time for much more though, I don't think.
Well, I think he's going to take on that one rat. His risk now is letting that rat attack him. This game could be over very quickly.
14%. Let's see what happens.
Okay, so the risk paid off there. Here comes support, but he's going to be able to jump out of there. But again, you know, a rat, you know, they can move 3 spaces, so he'll run out of space pretty quick. Oh. You see Julian there using the Vengeance, probably not to try and rob him of spells, although robbing him of spells might be a good idea considering he's burnt quite a few. Yeah. But probably trying to break off, you know, his speed or his wings with it. Yeah,
absolutely. It's quite funny watching him bounce around like this. Okay, so he's using a Magic Bolt already. Not his Mega Spell. Otherwise, I think he probably wouldn't have any cards left.
He's still got 2 rats that are going to attack him, though. Although, notice, he is moving towards Julian, so...
Yeah, he's gradually working his way round.
It does look like a very, very aggressive way of playing.
Yeah, I know. My heart's in my mouth for those. Amazing, really, that it's as high as 14% for those rats, actually.
Well, if you remember his defense...
his defense is 60, which isn't unreasonable.
Yeah.
So Oz has made another move there, sort of working round the arena towards Julian. One of those rats still in range. Aha!
Okay. Right,
Smart move there from Oz.
I think Chris is bringing this game to a head pretty quickly. And that is unlucky for Julian. That's 2 on the bounce he's missed.
Yeah, that is unlucky. But let's not forget that Julian's identified, teleport as perhaps a signature strategy. Perhaps that's why he's not been afraid to kind of back himself up to this sort of outcropping of land.
You would hope so.
I mean, if he's got one, he can put some significant distance between himself and Oz. Although he's put himself in range of the magic bolt there. Although Julian, of course, possibly benefiting from his increased magic power. Oh, interesting. Oh, and it's all over. It's over already. Amazing, really. I think that's a very powerful strategy from Oz there, boosting his move distance and bringing in the Windwalker spell. Be interesting to know if Oz had the Windwalker spell bound, and whether that's actually part of his strategy, or whether that was just a lucky occurrence.
Situational kind of tactic, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll have to ask him after, definitely.
No, totally. So, yeah, 5 turns there. That's gone by very quickly, especially with the 1 minute turn timer. So we'll be moving on to the second of our best of 3. And now this is an interesting map. This map sort of creates something of a valley between the 2 players. I think I'm right in thinking that those raised sections of land are high enough that most creatures can't walk down them.
Yeah.
So Oz there already moving down into the valley to pick up the talisman. Unless he's got Windwalker again, he's not going to be able to get back out of that ground without making a significant journey.
I don't think it's that much of a risky move. I mean, you might argue it was a waste of a teleport, but ultimately the only way Julian can get anywhere near him now is by teleporting himself, but then he won't be able to act. But yeah, I think Oz is going to want to get out of there now that there's a giant there, so let's hope that he does have some wings.
Yeah, no, that's 67% there for the...
oh, look at that. Did you see that talisman there?
Yeah, I did. That's made the giant significantly more powerful. It's raised his attack on the ranged attack up to 71%. So Oz is really going to have to do something to protect himself from that giant.
Oh, and there we see the wings again.
He must have that bound. I don't think he could be fortunate enough to have that same spell twice in a row.
Yeah. So, but then again, what the cast chance on that would be? What, 70%? I think it is on wings. That's a hell of a risky kind of strategy, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
to rely on wings in that way.
Possibly even 60. I mean, I can't help but think that Oz must just be burning cards at an incredible rate here. Because again,
he's still in range of that giant. Oh, and he failed.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Then again, it wouldn't have been quite so much because of the height difference, so it wouldn't have been...
Yeah.
But still, it would have been magic bolt kind of chance.
Yeah, I think Oz is riding his luck a lot tonight. But his own magic bolt failed on the giant, so... Interesting.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about the ranged attack anymore, so...
No, indeed.
That was Julian's roll of his dice, I guess.
But I think Oz must be burning cards at an incredible rate. I mean, to activate his speed-up talisman on the first turn, I mean, I suppose that might be why he's using equipment which gives him 15 mana for every card sacrificed, because he's obviously feeling that his early game strategy is dependent on having a lot of mana up front.
Yep, and look, he's so aggressive. But again, Julian's going to have that unicorn to protect him. So what the plan is... Oh, come on. I was going to say earlier when I saw the giant, you know, did you fancy that as an illusion? Oh! That is unlucky.
Wow. Yeah, no, I would have been all convinced that Ozzy's giant was an illusion, to be honest. Oh!
Julian gets his revenge.
Goodness me, it's like a shooting gallery in here tonight compared to some of the matches we've had.
We might have to make this best of 5 at this rate.
These guys really do want an early bed. Yeah, I mean that was just, I think just the back and forth of that. I mean I think yeah, maybe Oz riding his luck a little bit, and perhaps it not paying off in that instance. I think he'd made a good strategic move there with the wings to get to some high ground that kept him out of range of the giant and out of the way of the lion. But I think he'd obviously just, you know, left himself in range of that attack with the unicorn, which is you know, an easy thing to miscalculate. Actually, you sort of forget the unicorn's movement range, and but perhaps he, you know, didn't have any options. He obviously wanted to cast that giant down onto the lower ground, so he perhaps didn't want to move back from the edge.
Okay. Oh, well, this is going to be interesting. A single mana sprite in the middle. So you would suspect that Oz is going to go for his very aggressive style again to claim that. Given that his strategy is so dependent on mana, Julian also seeking out that mana.
It's going in. Julian, of course, benefiting from going first, so he can cover that ground. I mean, it's interesting that if you have a map like this with a mana sprite in that sort of position, if you go second, you are immediately at a sort of slight back foot, because of course, if Oz now moves up, he'll put himself in range of a potential magic bolt from Julian on his second turn. So you almost, if you're going second on a map like this, you're almost written out of the game to go and claim that mana sprite almost straight from the off.
Oh, so there you go. He got the speed, but he didn't get the wings that time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what difference that makes to this match. So everything's square at the moment.
Well, except that Oz has burnt probably quite a few cards.
No, I meant in terms of the rounds.
Well, yeah. So at least if this game does go on, it might become the worthy decider.
But going back to that, I mean, I think if you are going second and you want to stop your opponent getting to that mana sprite, you do need to kind of step up and cast some sort of strategic spell that blocks your opponent being able to get to it. Either that, or you need to put a creature within range of the enemy wizard that's going to make them think twice about stepping forward to collect it.
Yeah, those are the moments that I really like to use, like a shadow word, and surround the sprites as a way of kind of putting them off.
No, absolutely. And of course, something like Gooey Blob has an incredible range because you can cast it onto an empty space in front of your opponent, and it will then immediately expand to consume them. So you can't underestimate Gooey Blob's range. Julian losing his lion there.
Julian in range of a magic bolt.
Oz in range of a magic bolt.
Oh.
And that's it. Incredible, really.
Shall we ask them whether they want to do best of 5? Because
we can ask them, because the rate they're getting through these matches, it's incredible. If you compare it to something like, you know, if you look at the matches we've seen the last 2 weeks, especially last week, with both competitors, you know, with both rounds going to the full 25 rounds, the results we've seen tonight are incredible, really.
So, yeah, they've both agreed to 5 best of 5, which I think is very good of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to have a rule that people are playing the game for longer than we're talking about it.
There's definitely been no awkward silences tonight, has there?
No, indeed. So quite a bit of distance on this map. Interesting there, that choke point in the middle. I mean, it's quite a big map, but again, like some of the others, there's actually only 2 hexes that allow movement between either side of the board. Will be very interesting to see what happens here. Obviously, if Oz manages to activate his speed up talisman and get the wings, he can probably jump that gap. Oh, and he's using a teleport already, and he has picked up both mana sprites on his side of the map.
So yeah, he's trying to get really ahead in the game.
Yeah. A lot of mana available on this map, of course. 4 mana sprites in comparison to the 1 mana sprite on the previous map. So Oz has activated his talisman again. Obviously hasn't had to burn quite as many cards this time in order to get those.
Okay, both using the same strategy there.
Yeah.
Chris's rats not going to put up a lot of defense against the elf. Maybe they might get lucky.
Yeah. So looking at some of Julian's talismans, he's got a neutral type staff, and he's also got a talisman which gives you 3 matching spells to your staff. He's also bound giant, and he's got a couple of talismans which give bonuses to mounts and neutral creatures. So very much in line with Julian saying that, you know, the giant is a kind of preferred creature. Almost his whole equipment is geared up to supporting those giants and making them as powerful as they can be. And there we see the percussion of giants.
Which, if I was Chris, I would be tempted to disbelieve. You know, there's a lot of range between them. It's worth a punt.
Yeah. Can you make your mega spell an illusion?
I believe so. Yeah. If it's a creature, you can.
Okay. I confess I've never used a mega spell that's creatures. I don't know what that says about me, but I've always favoured mega spells that give something like the situational stuff, or, you know, things like the. I quite like the bow and the shield options as mega spells.
Yeah. Well, it worked out the other way round there, didn't it? The giants were real, but the elf was the illusion.
Yeah. But either way, the elf is gone.
And, oh dear. Well, that's not too... I mean, losing the bolt is going to be a bit of a pain, but losing rats isn't the end of the earth. Yeah,
it's probably going to hamper Ozzy's style. He does like to get in and use the bolt himself.
And with 2 giants on their way, I dare say a magic bolt might be useful.
Well, quite. I have to wonder whether or not Oz is going to be finding some way to activate his Mega Bolt spell so that he can have a shot at both of them.
Yeah. Oh, that was unlucky.
That was very unlucky. Skeleton there at 75% base casting chance. So looking at Ozzy's talismans, he has Windwalker and Magic Bolt bound, unsurprisingly. He's got a talisman that boosts his creature's agility, which is an interesting choice. I mean, it really, something, as far as I know, only affects creatures becoming engaged. Obviously likes to keep mobile. They've both got the talisman that allows you to gain the spell of the next killed creature to your deck. It's interesting they've both got that. He's also got the talisman that gives him +1 movement, and on top of that he can gain mana for killed and dispelled illusions.
So, what is he thinking? He's thinking of running away, although I think he's still going to be in range of... Yeah, I think he's still in range of that giant boulder, so this could be another short game.
It's interesting that he's gaining mana for killed and dispelled illusions, because you would think that that's not as powerful or as significant as you know, gaining mana for killed creatures.
Yeah.
Because even players that do favour using a lot of illusions, you've got to feel that the majority of their creatures on the board will still be real. If you know, if they want a kind of shot at a match, you can't rely completely on illusions. So I don't know, if it were me, I'd think you'd gain better mana from the death of real creatures than relying on illusions. Interesting to see what Julian does here. The Hellhound, obviously completely impervious to those two giants. Giants can't really do anything about the undead creature.
You'll be nipping at their heels, and it's not a bad chance. So
no,
really, and you'll obviously slow them up with his paralyze ability. I'd obviously take the one that's ranged first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's I think there's a 32% chance there to paralyse from that kind of distance. Oz there gaining a Sapphire Dragon. It could be an incredibly clever bluff. I can't help feeling that he'd be pushing his luck by bringing in a Sapphire Dragon as an illusion at this point.
Well,
but that could just be an incredibly clever bluff.
Having played him maybe 100 or more times, I would actually be surprised if it was an illusion.
Okay.
Because he really does take his chance. He seems to have some tremendous luck. There goes the wrong giant. It's the other one that he'd probably wanted to have stopped, but
yeah, I guess. Yeah, difficult. So that giant there has a 38% chance to kill that Sapphire Dragon, which I think Oz would be feeling quite disappointed by if he's only managed to cast it at 25% chance. To lose it so quickly would be quite galling.
So that was his attempt to engage the giant.
I think it's worked based on.
Well, no, you can still attack. You can still attack.
Ah, you can still throw. And the lion is real.
I hope that's not a signal that Oz is out of cards.
No, I think he's just, you know, if it had been an illusion, I think it would have been a handy time to get rid of it. Julian is limiting Oz's options to manoeuvre around the board. There's not many places now that Oz can move to that wouldn't be in range of that lion.
Yeah, well, you can debate whether he should have backed up with that Hellhound and tried the paralyze instead.
Perhaps. Elephant there surviving the ranged attack from the Sapphire Dragon.
So, is that him sacrificing his dragon as a way of diverting attention away from his wizard? We shall see
perhaps.
if Julian falls for it.
Yeah. And another giant in there. Oz casting, managing to cast a lot of quite low percentage spells in this round. Be interesting to see if Julian feels he's got enough breathing space to go for a disbelieve on some of these creatures.
I think if I was going to disbelieve something, it would be the giant. It
really?
Honestly doesn't surprise. Oz's psychology is, honestly, he would definitely try for the dragon, but he'd actually do the giant as an illusion.
Okay. I was thinking perhaps the Hellhound, because
oh yeah,
that undead creature at that point in the game, such a kind of convenient point for that creature to appear by those two giants. It just feels a bit too fortuitous.
So it's now time for Clash of the Giants.
Absolutely. And the
he's going for the rocks. Hulk smash, 52%. Oh, unlucky.
Yeah, and interesting there that the Sapphire Dragon turned out to be real after all that debate.
I thought so.
Oh!
Okay.
Do you know what? I was about to mention whether or not Oz would have or use a raise dead card. Interesting that he decided to go for the lion rather than the sapphire dragon, but I guess that the lion was in range, whereas maybe getting over to the.
Oh, it looks like I was right twice.
You were absolutely right. Yeah, perhaps getting over to the sapphire dragon's tombstone, perhaps more of a risk than Oz was prepared to take. Of course, Oz is aware at this point that he's 2-1 down, and perhaps the sort of laissez-faire approach in that last round has maybe made him a bit more circumspect. Interesting to see what's going to happen here. Oz in command of 2 undead creatures. Versus Julian's elephant and giant. The elephant and the giant both can't do anything about those undead creatures. And the elephant's an illusion.
Who would have thunk it?
Absolutely, and Chris must be benefiting greatly from all the mana he can potentially gain from these undead creatures. Oh, and there he goes!
What a risky way to finish a game. So it's all square, so the final game will be the decider. I'm starting to like this 1 minute turn timer, if I'm honest.
I think it's a combination of the 1 minute turn timer and these guys' play styles. I think, yeah, it's interesting that they're both being, quite so aggressive. And from what Julian said in the past, I mean, when he was talking at LaveCon about the way Chaos matches play, he was sort of saying that an average game is sort of 8 or 9 rounds, and I remember being quite surprised by that because all of mine seemed to go to a huge number of rounds. But maybe it's I suppose if you're that in control of what's going on and you really understand the rules, maybe you can work the percentages to get a.
Well, for all we know, everybody's running around with Windwalker and Bound and everything, and we're just doing it wrong.
Yeah, quite. Okay, so on to a controversial map here. This is the Mana Flux. There being a bit of a debate the other week about some players feeling that this map shouldn't be in the rotation. Interestingly enough, though, I mean,
that opened up, of course, the discussion about victory points, of course.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I think, if you compare this to the previous map, I mean, even though this doesn't wrap all the way around, there are actually a number of hexes that allow you to pass from one side to the other. Whereas on that previous map, there were actually only 2 hexes that allowed any kind of passage from one side to the other. So arguably, this is a more open map than the previous one that was played on.
Yeah, no, sure.
I think the last time this map came up in Chaos Champs, there were mana sprites on it, which were, of course, blocking movement for the creatures.
Yeah, they do make a difference because, I mean, they changed the whole way the game's played to start with because people want the mana and it makes them do crazy things. But at the same time, they break line of sight. Creatures can't move through them. So they are proper obstacles as far as creatures are concerned. So it really does change the game up.
Okay, so
so neutral creatures getting a boost, which is all good for Julian because he's got lion and rats.
Yeah, let's power that line up. Oh, unbelievable!
Okay.
That is amazing. That happened so quickly. I didn't even get the chance to see what the attack percentage was from the lion. It must have been in the 30s.
I'll tell the guys that we'll give them a call shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
wow, pretty fast-paced this evening, then.
Yeah, absolutely. And but I think it'd be worth trying that 1 minute timer with other players as well, and seeing if that's an effect that it has on people. Whether that 2 minutes of thinking time allows for a kind of more strategic defensive play, and perhaps the 1 minute timer lending itself to more risky strategies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely.
Being
Well, I
exper-
suppose we should give Oz a call and
We should.
tell him how sorry we feel. Oh dear. Yeah, I think he was feeling. I mean, he started off so confident.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Chris, welcome.
Hi.
So you started so strong, and then what happened?
Well, you know, to be honest, I didn't expect, but he's a good player. Well, he should be, but he is a good player, very good player. To be fair, well, you know, a very aggressive player, and I was trying to be aggressive and think, oh, I'm not going to get his spells on the board, but there we go. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, did you miss the range on the Lion, or did you?
I did. Yes. To be honest with you, the Lion was. I was thinking of my moves ahead, and I didn't even think about his Lion. I just missed it. I just missed the Lion, and it's a shame really, because that end game there. I mean.
It would have been a decider. That was the great thing about it.
Yes, I know. But there we go. I mean, he's proven that you know, the wingsuit and the extra move is a good advantage, but you can easily play against it, which is good.
So talk to us about that for a moment then. So you were activating that talisman for extra movement, you know, in the first round really on each game.
I normally, yes.
Were you having to burn cards for that?
Yes, I do. I always burn the weakest cards, like if I've got a rat pack or some crap like that. I think, burn them off and get the extra movement, because I found, you know, most players I play, that they're not into those tactics. They like to sort of bury away, get their creatures out, and not take on the wizard. Whereas, you know, my theory was to make my wizard the main player, and in all fairness to him, he's pretty much proven that you know,
it can be countered.
It can be countered, yeah, exactly. It's made it very fair, and I thought when I had this little scenario that I thought that perhaps it was overbalanced, but it's proven it's not. It's not overbalanced. It's yeah, that was great. I mean, I enjoyed that. That was great. I mean, I was really thinking as well. I was thinking, all right, okay. On a couple of rounds, you've probably seen me change my tactics a little bit, but deep within my tactics always remained the same. Where all right, I'm going to attack him, but yeah, I'm not into the slow game. But yeah, there we are. That was very good, very enjoyable, very enjoyable.
Okay. And did you feel lucky or unlucky with some of your chances? I mean, you managed to bring out some creatures at some quite low percentage chances, but then at the same time your magic bolt on a giant failed. How did you feel the gods of chance?
Well, I mean, you could say the same for Julian. He had a few magic bolts that should have worked, and they didn't. But no, I don't rely on you know, that's why I went into my my scenarios. Oh, forget the pieces, because sometimes you don't get them. And I thought, well, okay, wingsuit, what, 60%?
Yeah.
Straight away. So and magic bolts, my talismans, I've got magic bolts straight away. So I thought, oh, you know, I'll get the wingsuit, fly over, then try and bolt him. It's a lot quicker, you know, quicker way of doing it. But he's just proven that, yeah, it's not all just about muscle.
Yeah.
Well, they do say as a game designer, if someone comes to you and says that something's overpowered, the first thing you should say is beat me with it, and then see if they actually can. Because if they can't, it's not overpowered. So
no, exactly. I mean, I'd like to see Julian. I mean, Julian's takes probably he's probably come across that sort of gameplay before, but I thought, I've been thinking about it all week, and I thought I might have him with this idea I've got, but
very experimental.
No.
Well, I'll bring Julian in, and then we can perhaps find out if he's seen it before, I guess.
Yeah, cool.
That's if he hasn't gone to bed.
Hello, Julian.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
an incredible few rounds there. It's not often that you see a gunslinger showdown at high noon go to a best of 5.
Yeah, it's great fun. I enjoy fast-playing games, and I think Oz was a great a great competitor. It was really good fun.
So we were just debating this combination of the Solaris talisman.
Yeah.
And Windwalker. Have you seen that strategy before? Is it something that's come
Yeah, I
up?
have. Yes, and it's very dangerous. I mean, if you've got a powerful wizard, so he's got quite a well-defended wizard, and with Solaris and the Windwalker, it makes him very, very dangerous. But of course, as he says, you have to really burn quite a few spells to get that reliably early on, and if you don't get it, it can be a bit of a disaster. And so I was very wary that he was quite dangerous, so I was desperately trying to make sure I had at least some mount to ride on. And I was so desperate in the last game, what's the last game, was it?
Oh, it was the one
Last
before
game.
you
The
had
one
the
before,
illusion.
the one before where I had the illusory elephant. Yeah, so I had an illusory elephant. I thought, well, he's probably not going to disbelieve it, so I'll just cast it as an illusion. But of course, it didn't protect me in the end anyway, because he killed the elephant and then slaughtered me with his Solaris Windwalker-powered wizard. I really wanted to have some more magical attacks, because my magic power was twice as much as his, and I was, I would get like 60% chance to get a successful magic attack directly on his wizard, and if I had a few of those, I could have reduced his spells quite significantly. But I didn't, so that was
I was going to say your wand setup, your staff setup seems to sort of favour buffing creatures like the giant and the lion that we obviously sort of use quite a lot.
That's the basic strategy of my equipment, is that I've got a neutral staff with a neutral mega spell, and the best thing to do with neutral creatures is to try and buff them, especially with their magic resistance. So I basically put together equipment that had 3 buffs in it, and it seems to work reasonably well. It's certainly not foolproof, because my wizard is quite vulnerable, so as we saw.
I was going to say, because obviously you then weren't getting those direct magical attack spells that you would have benefited from. It
would have been nice to have bound some, but of course I've only got 1 binding slot, and that wasn't, and I think I was binding a giant. I can't remember. I should really bind a magical attack with this equipment setup.
Yeah, I mean, do you have the option of taking the maybe the buff to mounts? Maybe could go, and you could swap that for another binding slot.
No, because the binding slots are fixed according to the staff. So it's I would probably have to try and pick another staff which had more binding slots. That would be better. I don't think my equipment design was that brilliant, to be honest. Well, it's not bad if you're relying a lot on neutral creatures, but if you try and put all your eggs in one basket, it can backfire on you. As
Tell me about
I think we both found out.
No, it's interesting. And does the 1 minute timer, does that provide a different kind of level of pressure, particularly maybe Oz?
Yes, very intense, because if you make a mistake, it can be fatal. I think
Oz
made a slightly unfortunate mistake in the last game.
It suits my gameplay, because of my strategy. I don't normally play like that, but I built this strategy up thinking, right, okay, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Obviously, Julian's probably come across this before, but I thought, right, okay, well, I've got wingsuits galore, I got magic bolts, and I thought I'd go on aggressive attack, and so the minute suited me fine, because it kind of, the opponent, if he wants to play the defensive and build up your army, sort of.
Well, if anything, the 1 minute can ruin it for you if you're burning cards, because you've only got so much time.
Well, it is hard, I mean, one round, you're quite right, John. 1 round, I burnt him up, and I was ready to play my move, and I lost my move because of the.
You didn't manage to cast a spell in one move, did you? Yeah,
that's it.
I think what I would advise is definitely try and figure out your card burning while it's your opponent's turn, because you can burn cards while it's your opponent's turn. So I was doing that. And you need to use your opponent's turn to think pretty carefully about what you're going to do in your turn, because you've only got a minute to make your move.
I did burn some cards, but then it was also watching you, because you've only got a minute. So I was thinking, all right, I better. So it is. No, I tell you what, it makes it intense.
It is very intense. It's very exciting. Yeah, I really enjoy this style of playing.
Excellent. Well, we can't have you on, Julian, without asking what people are going to be thinking, which is what's sort of next in terms of the Chaos Reborn releases, because obviously recently we've seen the big update with the single player content coming, and then obviously we've seen the Forge Master stuff and a whole new strategic layer being added to those single player realms. In fact, I actually noticed myself that something significant has obviously changed, because when the realms first came out, I think I burnt through the first 4 levels quite easily, and since the new content's come out, I still haven't beaten the level 1 realm.
Oh, really?
I just got a blind spot for it. By the time I actually get to the Wizard King's castle, he's already got like 7 henchmen.
Oh dear.
And I'm hugely on a back foot.
Yeah, actually, a number of people tell us the level 1 realm is actually too difficult, and that's something we need to do something about, because the difficulty it needs a lot of balancing still with the single player and the realms. So we've done a second iteration on the realms, and we've got a lot of plans for future developments there. But our next big update will actually feature the Wizard Lord and the Wizard King special social roles. So you'll be able to, if you're a Wizard Lord wizard, you'll be able to volunteer for realm duty. And if you're a Wizard King, you'll be able to create realms for other players to play. So there's a lot of work we're doing on the realm editor at the moment. And players will be able to rate realms, and the Wizard Lords and Wizard Kings will kind of get scores and ratings based on their performance and how well the realms are rated. So that's the next update.
Okay.
Is that so in terms of Magic Fire update?
Magic Fire's not going in yet, no.
You and your Magic Fire, John.
I love Magic Fire.
Yeah, I think it would be fantastic. I mean, we're definitely going to put it in. Do not worry. But it won't be in the next update.
So in terms of that Wizard Lord, you're saying Wizard Lords can volunteer for duty.
Yeah.
Is that an online thing, like the thing at the moment where you can volunteer as an ally? Okay.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit more passive in the sense that you configure your wizard and you submit him to a sort of like pool of available wizards. Then Wizard Kings can then pick wizards from that list to place in their realms. And once you get placed in a realm, you'll be able to track your progress and how well you're doing, and how many battles you've won, drawn, and lost in that realm. And you will be able to review battles that you've played in that realm, but maybe not in the next update. And you will eventually, once the AI is more complete, you will be able to configure some basic AI strategies as well for your wizard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so are you essentially, as a Wizard Lord, are you waiting for single-player challenges to come through your realm and face you?
No, you don't. It's completely. You're an NPC in a realm.
Okay.
So you could be facing lots and lots of players playing your wizard as one of the Wizard Lords in the realm, but you're not online. You're not playing him. You're just basically setting him up for the battle.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's very simple. I mean, it's not. And the first version will be very simple, and say we're going to improve on it by allowing you to sort of program a little bit the AI. Obviously, you can configure your equipment. That does have an effect on the battle as well. And then you'll be able to review your battles, see how well you performed, and tweak your AI and equipment. That's the idea behind it, anyway.
Oh, excellent. And just one last question from me. In terms of your own wizard you were playing with tonight, I noticed that you didn't actually have the highest level of bling on your creatures and on your wizard.
No, I'm just a humble Wizard Lord level, I'm afraid.
Is that a deliberate choice? Because presumably you can have whatever you want.
I can indeed access anything. I could be a god if I wanted to be, yeah. But no, I'm just a humble wizard lord.
That's nice. Julian? Sorry, John?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm happy. I'm just, I'm amazed that we finished on time. I mean,
You've not got burning questions?
That's it.
Brilliant.
Magic fire. When's it coming?
Excellent.
Well, there is one other question that people keep on asking on the forums, but I don't know if Julian wants to answer it, because everyone keeps on moaning that they missed the red dragon, the golden dragon, and the green dragon.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, well, they were in our original prototype, but we took them out because having lots of dragons is a little bit samey. Yeah. Unless we can think of some unique kind of abilities for those other dragons that make them a little bit different from the Sapphire Dragon, then we'll have to, I don't know, I mean, it's not our top priority creature to put back in now.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that, because ultimately any card you add, it waters down the pool of cards, and so to have 3 very powerful cards, it's reducing the overall casting chance of a hand, so...
That's true, but
it makes the Sapphire Dragon less special as well.
Yeah.
There's also the low percentage of them anyway, so I mean, I love the fact that obviously you got the Law Dragon at the moment, but it'd be cool if you had a neutral dragon and a Chaos Dragon, perhaps. Forget the Golden Dragon and do something like that. But perhaps the neutral dragon should be a lower power dragon. I don't know, but...
The Chaos Dragon is sort of the Hydra, isn't it? I mean, I always sort of think the Hydra is
I don't know. I mean, the Hydra is its own character, really. I love the Hydra. In all fairness, I think it's something else.
You can't. I understand what Julian's saying. You can't just have another dragon which does exactly the same as the Sapphire Dragon, because it's.
Well, no, just make it.
I was thinking the Sapphire Dragon could, it's fire because it's blue. You could make it like icy, so there'd be a chance to freeze opponent creatures if it doesn't successfully kill them or something.
Just to make Chaos Dragon, perhaps.
Set them on fire with damage over time or something. Let's just make it into World of Warcraft, Chris. Let's just do that.
Job done.
So Julian, just one more question about the thing. Yeah, it's actually funny because I thought, John, when you said there was a question that had come up and you weren't sure if Julian wanted to answer it, I thought you were going to ask if Rat Pack needed nerfing. But no.
There's always one person who thinks that rats are too powerful.
Absolutely. So are there also plans, Julian, to expand those single-player encounters that you come across in the realms?
Are there also what? Sorry, what's the question?
plans to expand those sort of encounters that come up in the realms?
Oh yes, yeah. The encounters will be improved a little bit, actually along the lines of what you were suggesting. So with the encounter system, basically you'll see the potential outcomes from each encounter, and you have to judge based on those what is going to be the best decision to take. So it's a bit more transparent.
Yeah.
The Wizard Kings will be able to create custom encounters for their realms as well, so they can create little sort of story-based elements with various outcomes which may be interesting in different ways. So there are, I mean, it's certainly something I want to expand a lot on, is the encounter system. There's a lot we can do there, but yeah, we'll see. There will be some changes with the next update.
I did have 2 ideas to pimp, out of conversations I've had with people. And you can throw them in the bin if you want, it's fine. A lot of people seem to think that 3 minutes is too long. And after playing, I've been playing a lot of the 1 minute timer just so I could get a feel for tonight's match. And I think, would it not be better to ditch the 3 and then go for a 60, 90 and 120 second timers?
Yeah, I've thought about doing that, yes.
Okay.
I have. There'll be a few people complaining very loudly about it.
Okay,
but,
well, there's always asynchronous games for those people.
Originally I wanted to make the league matches 1 minute timer, relatively short games, something like 18 turns, just to make them fast and more exciting. So a lot of people objected to that. So I mean, you can't please everybody, I guess.
No. I guess not. And the only other one, and this is completely off the wall, is that if it ever gets to the stage where people are able to see matches that haven't started yet, that they could bet their gold on the outcome of a match, and so you could build in, I don't know,
Gambling.
gambling. You
Ooh.
could basically, gamble your gold on a match. I thought that would be.
Yeah, that'd be good fun.
I could exploit that really easily. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only problem is exploits are a big problem, and anywhere where people can collaborate to fix an outcome is bound to be problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you can bet on. Well, instead of doing that, bet on matches that are happening within the single-player realm, so you know that at least the CPU is going to try its best.
Yes,
although you could still throw a match if you were betting on the CPU.
Yeah. Okay, forget that.
And absolutely last one, I promise. Can we have a notification icon for asynchronous matches?
I mean,
I keep
that would
getting
be
instant
very
message by people saying, "Why haven't you taken your asynchronous moves?" It's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to check it.
yeah, you're absolutely right. We do need that.
That'd be awesome.
Cool.
Well, yeah,
I-
and just.
Oh,
like
have you
to
got a request? Have you, Chris? Sorry, did you?
No, I just
Did you?
like to say to Julian, thanks for a good match. That's all I was going to say.
Well, thank you, Oz, for being a very challenging and quite scary opponent. It was good fun.
Yeah, and on the last word then, Julian, how do you feel about the golden joysticks at the moment? Do you think
Well,
about
it was great to be nominated. I mean, there's something like 9 or so nominations there. I went out of thousands of indie games, so I think that's great to be nominated. I don't think we'll win it because we're up against like huge games like Kerbal Space Program. Which I think will win it, actually, to be honest.
Based on the love a lot of people we know have for Kerbal, I think Kerbal could very easily clean up.
I'm sure they'll win that one, yes.
But we were talking on the Lave Radio podcast last night, and it almost seems a little bit unfair that what people are voting on essentially with Chaos is a sort of 70-75% complete version of the game. Because it's not out yet. You're not finished.
No.
It's still early access. Is that something that bothers you? Are you sort of not able to be nominated again for it next year?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is Kerbal finished?
I'm not sure.
I don't think Kerbal's finished, is it?
Yes, it's been released officially.
Oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
Yeah. It was again in early access for ages, but yeah, it has been officially released.
Fine.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
Well, thank you very much, gents, for your time this evening. It's been
Thank you for the opportunity to play. It was good.
Cool.
And thank you, Oz.
Yeah, no worries. Good game.
Cool. Right. Well, in that case, I'll wrap up the show. Just to remind you, if you haven't bought Chaos Reborn already, why haven't you? You should have got it. It's amazing. It's available on, as we said, early access on Steam. It's available both on PC and Mac, isn't it, Julian? It is Mac as well.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
and Linux.
And Linux. Wow.
Yeah.
So you got no excuses unless you're a console player, I guess. And just to let you know, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Chaos Champs. Come and join the group, give us some feedback, make suggestions, and if there's any potential competitors you want to see duke it out in the arena, let us know. And we will soon be making an announcement about a kind of a more formal Chaos Champs tournament. So that's it for this week's show. We'd like to thank both tonight's competitors, Julian and Oz, and we'd like to give a big thanks to everyone who tuned into the stream. So thank you, and good night.